Well, hey there, Internet people, and welcome back to Green Wing Gaming. It's Friday again, so let's kick off our weekend with another Let's Play. Today we are continuing our journey through Mission 3 of Rangers of Shadowdeep, the Descent into Darkness. This will be the second scenario in the mission. If you weren't here for last week's mission, for Mission 3 of the core rulebook, our Ranger Tywin is leading his merry band of helpers down into the Shadowdeep itself, sort of like crossing into the Upside Down. The goal is to try and map out the various lands that we come across. So the first scenario was the kind of deadly and treacherous descent down a mountain cliff into the Shadowdeep. And today we get to see what they find at the bottom. Just a quick little bit of admin. We did manage to level up at the end of the last scenario, so Tywin has picked up a new heroic ability. He has a frenzied attack. So once per game he can add an additional +5 modifier to his attacks, but he has to declare it before he rolls. So I've personally been really enjoying the leveling up system for Rangers in this game. Admittedly, the companion leveling is a little, non-existent, because they have to survive 10 scenarios to get one level up. So that just seems a little, I don't know, it just seems like it takes way too long to achieve way too little. But that's a pretty minor gripe. Other than that, I've really been enjoying the campaign so far. I hope you guys have as well. And we're going to hop right into the mission, but just a quick reminder that, this YouTube thing, I'm just getting started at it, so the channel's pretty fresh. We are coming to the end of our second month on YouTube, so any level of engagement from you guys really does help out the channel. Even just by clicking on the video, you've already done me a huge solid. But if you could maybe consider subscribing, hitting the like button, if you subscribe, we've got a bunch of other videos already up on the channel. We do hobby discussion videos every Monday. We do more videos like this every Friday. We should be adding in other games into the mix pretty soon, when I can get my hands on some wireless microphones so that some of my buddies can finally get on the channel. But yeah, with all that self-promotion out of the way, we're doing Scenario 2 of Mission 3, so let's just play some Rangers of Shadowdeep. And here we are in Scenario 2, Swampland. I'm going to start off by giving you guys a quick intro to the scenario, where it just says, for nearly a full day, you and your companions carefully climbed down the broken stairs. Day eventually gave way to a murky twilight as the sun was blotted from the sky by the thick, dark clouds of the Shadowdeep. Most of your party has covered their faces to block out the ash and stink of the place. Finally, the stairway came to an end, and in front of a boggy pool, dotted with broken ruins and a few trees. The water nearest the stairs is too deep to wade, but it appears to quickly become shallower further on. If you want to carry on with your mission, there is no choice but to swim through the dark waters until you reach solid ground. Still, it is not a decision you take lightly, for who knows what could be living beneath the surface of the dark water. So yeah, there we have it. If you look at the map real quick, our Rangers have successfully completed their climb down into the nefarious realms of the Shadowdeep, only to find an awful swamp waiting for them. So I've already looked through the special rules for this scenario. Once again, this one, where the last one was played on a 30 by 30 inch table, this is a 24 by 24. We've placed some clue markers on there, or as indicated by the map, but oddly enough, the clue markers you see on the map are just suggestions. You're actually supposed to randomize where they go, which is exactly what we did. In fact, we'll just take you guys over here real quick. The clue markers ended up being there, and there. They ended up forming like a perfect triangle when I randomized their directions, which I thought was a little weird, but hey, stranger things happen, I guess. But the only other really important rules for the scenario is that the first 8 inches of the map are meant to be treated as deep water, meaning any of our Rangers who want to move through it have to make a swimming check, or they start to drown. And when they drown, they basically take damage, ignoring their armor, however much they failed the swimming test by. So that's going to be kind of a rough one, particularly because in Rangers of Shadowdeep, you take penalties to your swim check for every piece of armor. So if you're wearing light armor, that's a -1 to your swim check. If you're carrying a shield, that's a -1 to your swim check. And I'm pretty sure, like, everyone except Thaddeus is wearing light armor. So this is going to be a little difficult. The only other thing is that we do need to make some rolls beforehand to see if the fumes cause any damage to our heroes, the kind of nefarious, the harmful gases that are lingering about in the Shadowdeep. But other than that, there's not a whole lot else to tell. We just need to get across the table and not drown in the process. And there are going to be various enemies showing up during the event phases. And yeah, so the goal is to get across the table alive, as is going to be the case for a number of these. Well, it was the case for the last scenario, should be the case for this scenario. Kind of a common theme in Rangers. It's either survive the full number of turns or get off the table. It's usually one or the other. In this case, the game will go for a maximum of 10 turns, but we can also end the game early by getting off the table or dying. So let's hope we do it by getting off the table. But with that being said, we've got our Ranger Tywin and his merry band set up over here. We've got a handful of dreaded zombies. And these guys are actually going to be a little bit tougher. They are swamp zombies, so their stats are just a little bit better than these zombies we faced in the very first scenario. But other than that, that is the scenario setup, and I will be back to talk to you guys at the start of the first turn. And here we are at the start of turn 1. Hope you guys will bear a little patience with me on this one. I'm starting this video with a new lens, so if things look a little shakier or more out of focus than usual, I do apologize. But we have started off our first turn. We are in the Ranger phase with Tywin and his merry band of heroes, having reached the bottom of the cliffside stairs. But we do need to make our will or survival rolls to see if any of them take any damage. So we're going to start off with Tywin. He's got a will of +4, and he needs to make a 10. So, and he cranks it with a... hold on. Again, apologies for the camera work with the new lens. Our Ranger has rolled himself a 16. You can't really... there we go. So he has rolled himself a 16, which means he's not going to be taking any damage. I'm going to try rolling this with a slightly darker dice, see if that doesn't help things a little bit. So next up, we're going to do our Tracker Bryn. He's actually going to be making this on his survival skill, because trackers have a +2 to that. So again, needing a total of a 10. So it needs to show an 8. Oh, he shows a 2. That's not what we wanted to see. So Bryn will be taking 2 damage, starting the scenario off at 10 health. And then the rest of them, it's just going to be will checks, because will and survival are the same for them. So let's see if Gwyneth can get a 10. No, she takes 2 damage. She's going to be starting off with 8. Archie, can he make his will check? He can on a 19. If you guys can see that, yeah. He rolls a 19, so far Tywin and Archie are the only ones to pass. Let's see if Damien can join in. Damien makes a 20. There we go. And in Thaddeus' case, he actually needs to take this or be immediately removed from the game. And here we have a... oh, back up. He rolls himself a 13, so he's going to be just fine. All right, so it's just Bryn and Gwyneth who are going to be taking some damage. Going to mark those up real quick. Gwyneth will be on 8 health. And let's see, our Tracker Bryn will be on 10 health. But yes, with all that out of the way, we are free to actually begin our turn. So just to give you guys a quick sweep of the board, we have kind of an island right at the edge of the deep water with a zombie and a clue marker. Over here we have, over in the shallower waters, we have another swamp zombie guarding a second clue marker by some ruins, and then over here, same again, some ruins, a little campsite zombie clue marker. Yeah, so the setup for the scenario just determined that you randomize where the clue markers show up, and there has to be a zombie next to each clue marker. Pretty simple. But with all that being said, we are going to go ahead and hop over to our Ranger phase, 3 minutes after we've started the first turn. And Tywin is going to be group activating with his 2 injured companions, Gwyneth and Bryn. And they're going to be kind of beating feet right over to the that first zombie. Now, because they're going to be moving through deep water, actually, even after they get past the deep water, everything here counts as shallow water. So if they're not on that island is literally the only place that counts as dry land. So it's the only place where they can move normally. Otherwise, they're going to be half movement everywhere they go. So that's going to be a little bit troublesome. So getting across this table could be kind of a challenge, but like I said, we're group activating with Bryn and Gwyneth. So we're actually going to start off with Bryn taking his first action. He's going to try to dial up a shot into that zombie, because I don't particularly like the idea of our homeboys making a contested landing on that island. So we're going to roll up our attacks. The swamp zombie has a fight of +0, because zombies are not exactly the most coordinated. Bryn has himself a shoot of +2, so let's see if he can't get something done here. Oh, it looks good. So Bryn has rolled himself an 18, which becomes a 20, to the zombie's roll of a 3, which stays a 3. A quick reminder to anyone who has maybe not watched the previous videos in this: if you're having trouble following what I'm saying with the modifiers and how the attack rolls work, I would heavily recommend going back to the first video in this series, just because this is a very different game from stuff like Warhammer or really any Games Workshop product. Even if you compare it to other D20 systems, it doesn't really work like Dungeons & Dragons or anything like that. So watching the first video, we explain all that. We're not going to re-explain it here. But Bryn has triggered the critical effect, because his +2 takes that to exactly a 20, which means his damage would be 20, except the critical effect makes it a 25, and the fact that his musket gives him a +2 damage, he has 27 damage. Even when you factor in the zombie's armor of 12, that is still, what, 15 damage? The zombie's only got 6 health, so that is a dead zombie. For what feels like the first time in this game, Bryn opens up strong. He starts off just one-shotting a zombie right in the head, dropping him. So that's his first action. Tywin here, as much as I'm hesitant to do it, he normally has a 7-inch move. But as I said, water cuts his movement in half because it's rough terrain. So he's only going to have a 3.5-inch move. We're going to go ahead and activate his dash action to give him +2 to his overall movement. So his 9-inch movement is going to get cut down to a 4.5-inch move, which still only gets him about there. So that's not ideal. And so he's going to take a second action move. 4.5 goes down to 2.25, which is just enough to get him on the beach. I did not think through using this terrain, so we're just gonna rest Tywin at the base of this slope, because the slope is a little too steep for him to stand on. But we'll just have to remember Tywin is in fact on the island, and thus does not have to take a drowning check. Now, the problem for Gwyneth is that she doesn't have such a heroic ability. So she just has to rely on her 7-inch movement. So her 3.5-inch move is going to get her to there. And then she gets another, 1.1 inches. So she's going to be just shy of the beach. So she is actually going to start, she actually now needs to make a swim check at -1 because she's wearing light armor. So she needs to pass a 10 up. So actually she needs an 11 with the -1. So let's see if she can make that happen. She does! It works out. Let's see if you can... Yeah, that turns out to be a 19 down to an 18, so she's going to be fine. She passes her swimming check. Everything is going well. Bryn is... I'm not going to have him risk making a swim. I'm just going to have his second action to be reloading. Yeah, because with... Again, if this is your first time watching, I'm only going to explain this once. His weapon gets extra damage if he hits, but he has to spend an action reloading every time he uses it. That's just the difference between that and like a bow and arrow. So yeah, he's going to spend his second action just reloading, and then we're going to go over to the creature phase, which is going to be mercifully short, because there's only 2 zombies left thanks to Bryn's fantastic shooting. And they're kind of equidistant from our guys, so we're just going to we're going to activate this one that's closer to me because it's closer to me, it's easier. So these zombies have a movement of 4 inches, but they are going to be double moving, and because they are amphibious, they don't take the penalty from being in shallow water. So this zombie is just going to move 6 inches. Looks something like that. Oh, don't mind me as I knock over all the terrain. So the zombie is just going to move up like so. I'm going to clean up that terrain a little bit. And then this zombie over here is going to do much the same. He's measure out 6 inches. And forward we go towards our heroes. But that concludes the creature phase. Don't mind me as I try to right my terrain that I knocked over. But that brings us into the companion phase, where... Oh, I think we're actually going to minimize how much swimming we end up doing. So anything between these stone walls is meant to be considered like the little end of the stairway where our heroes arrived. So Archie and Damien are just going to move up to the edge of that. Because I don't really want to risk them drowning, so we're going to try to get them as close to the island as we possibly can. Thaddeus, on the other hand, has a nice 9-inch move. Sorry, I left my tape measure over there. And he is a bird, so he flies. He's just gonna double move over onto the island, get within group activation range. Actually, he doesn't really need to be in group activation range of Tywin. But yeah, so now we've got 3 of our heroes on the central island, or about to be on the central island. The only place where they can be standing and actually be moving normally. But, with that being said, we are now at the end of the companion phase, because our heroes have just kind of moved to the edge of the water. Well, actually, that's not true. Damien can't do much else, because I don't particularly feel like watching him drown, but Archie does have some magic spells, and I can't help but wonder if it's worth using it on this zombie as it's approaching. It's a 1-use only. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to just try and thin out the enemy as quick as we can. So, for those of you who maybe don't remember how his magic works, each of his spells are once per game. So, using his magic bolt on this zombie, even if it fails to kill the zombie, he can never use that spell again for the rest of the scenario. So, it is a bit of a risk, but I would like to thin these guys out as much as I can, just be starting off strong. And the spell Magic Bolt gives him a +5 magical shooting attack, and because it's magical, he doesn't take the normal penalty for moving and shooting. So it's going to be his shoot +5 to the zombie's fight of +0. Let's see how this works out. Not great. He beats the zombie because we rolled a double 2. So they both rolled 2s, and Archie gets a +5 to this, but that only comes out to a total of 7. The zombie's armor is 12, so that would do no damage. As much as I hate to do it, we're going to pop Tywin's once per game reroll, because he has an ability called Hand of Fate that lets him reroll 1 dice per game. So he's going to be rerolling that, see if we can't do better. Nope, we roll another 2, so we've used our spell and our reroll. Fantastic. I see Archie has decided to take over for Bryn being the useless one today. But with all that out of the way, we have now arrived at the event phase, or the weird shit-o-meter. So, again, for those of you who maybe haven't watched before, we draw a card, we compare that card to a table of events, and we have drawn a red 9. Let me consult our table. Oh, it's not so bad. It's literally just we place a giant fly, so we're going to reuse the Tyrannid models we used from the last game, and we place it at the bottom of the stairs. So apparently some of the flies we dealt with in the last scenario are following us down the stairs and have popped up right next to Bryn and Damien. That's not great news, but could have been worse. Could have been worse. So we are now going to be at the end of turn 1. I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. And here we are at the start of turn 2. Giving you guys a quick sweep of the board, we have Tywin and Gwyneth making good progress to the middle of the board with Thaddeus, Archie, Damien, and Bryn kind of stuck on the little island we showed up at with a horrible insectoid creature creeping up behind them. So we're just going to have to see where that goes, but we are going to start off in the Ranger phase. Tywin is only close enough to activate with Gwyneth. He is himself on the island, so he's just going to run up to this treasure marker, or clue marker, rather. And when he gets into base contact with that clue marker, his activation immediately ends. So he cannot take a second action, and we roll on the clue marker table. So what do we get? We roll a 15. We roll ourselves a 15, and consulting the table for what that means, we have found a broken ruin with some arcane writing carved into the stone. The figure should make a read runes roll at target number 8 to discover that the words are the fragments of a magic spell. Oh, sorry, that is so blurry, guys. This lens does not like the book. Apologies. But yes, so we have found the fragments of a magic spell, and he needs to make a read runes roll of 8. We're actually just going to pop his focus ability, which gives him a once per game plus 8 to hit to his skill roll, so he's just going to auto pass that. He has discovered the magic spell. Gwyneth is going to lose about an inch of movement, so that's only going to give her like 6 inches to get up to the top of this island for her first action, and I think she's just going to burn her second one. Yeah, that's probably going to be it for the two of them. And then so we hop right over to our creature phase, where again our zombies advance 6 inches. Still not quite getting to their prey. But over here we've got another zombie moving up 6 inches, gets to the base of this cliff. So there we have it, our zombies getting a little bit closer to our heroes on the island. But yeah, and so then that brings us to our last enemy, the weird insectoid creature that came down from the mountains, who is going to follow rules as written, and is just going to immediately get into base contact with Bryn and take a swing at him. So Bryn is fight +1, the flies are fight +0. The game really trying to take it easy on us in terms of dice rolls for this scenario, at least so far. So we're going to have a fight +1 to fight +0. Let's see how it works out. Okay, it's not too bad. It is not too bad at all. They've rolled an equal score, which is starting to weird me out a little bit that keeps happening. But thankfully, Bryn has a +1 where the fly does not. So the Tyrannid Hormigaunt gets smacked away with Bryn's staff. Looking at their stats, that is going to be... So his 8 becomes a 9. He takes a -1 down to 8. So the creature takes 3 damage, because it's got an armor of 6. Or no, so it only takes 2 damage. But it's got 5 health, so it goes down to... Yeah, so 6 armor, 5 health. So the creature goes down to 3 health and gets backed off an inch by the smack from Bryn's staff. And that brings us to the end of the creature phase, and we are now at the start of the companion phase. So we're actually going to start with Bryn just point-blank dumping a shot into the nefarious creature that just attacked him. Let's see if he can't dial up a shot and do as good as he did in the first turn. Shoot +2, fight +0. No, unfortunately not. Our angry little fly rolls a 15 to Bryn's total of 9, so his shot goes wide. Can't say I blame him, he just got attacked by this weird scythed creature, but still, his shot goes wide, and his second action is just going to have to be to reload. So, bearing that in mind, first of all, we forgot to move Gwyneth's wound marker. Really regretting this choice of terrain. But so we've moved the wound marker, but we're going to activate Damien now, who, seeing his buddy in trouble, is just going to turn and move to face him, because I don't particularly feel like watching Bryn get absolutely jumped on by that fly for the rest of the game. So Damien is going to have a fight of +3, being a man-at-arms, to the fly's fight of +0. So Damien definitely wins. With a 9 becomes a 12, minus the armor of 6. It does 6 damage. The fly does go down. So Damien sees his buddy in trouble, walks over, smacks that horrible monster with his sword. Down it goes. And that is going to be the total of Damien's activation. So moving over to Archie, or Archibald, as he prefers. He only has a 6-inch move, so again, he's going to move... Normally would move a total of 9, is now going to move just a total of 4.5, getting him right up to there. So not quite there, so now he has to make a swim check. He is also wearing light armor, so he is going to take a -1 to this, needing an 11, and cranking it with a... tree kind of blocking you there. He cranks it with a 17. I'm really going to get a less bright dice. But yes, he has rolled a 17, becomes a 16. That is still going to be a pass. So none of our guys have drowned just yet. This is actually looking up. I was convinced that they were going to all immediately drown with trying to swim across deep, dark waters in heavy armor. Or light armor, as it turns out. But yeah, that is the end of our companion... Oh, sorry, no, it's not. We have Thaddeus, although I'm not sure I want Thaddeus being brave and running off on his own, so he's just going to stay there. I'm actually probably going to move him back just a little bit so that he does not become a target of these zombies. The bird is here for moral support. I don't want to risk his life, even if he has been kind of a badass in previous episodes. But with that being said, we have reached a second event phase, so it's time to draw another card, see what the game has in store for us. We have drawn the Red Queen. Why do I feel like that's not going to be a good thing for me? Oh, actually, okay, it's not so bad. I'm actually kind of glad I drew this now. So according to the book, the Red Queen equals frenzy. Apparently all monsters currently on the table in the next turn are going to get a +2 to their fight. So these zombies are going to be +2 to their fights instead of +0. All in all, not the worst thing in the world. That definitely could have come at a worse time for us had there been more enemies on the table. And it's going to give some of our other guys over here by the stairs a moment of breathing room to back up and try to get off that island to start crossing the table. But with that, we've reached the end of turn 2 out of a possible 10. And I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. Alright, here we are at the start of turn 3, giving you guys a quick sweep of the board. We still have Damien and Brent. I'm just going to take down this wall because it's making it real hard to see our figures over here. So we've got Damien and Bryn standing at the edge of the stairs. We have Archie over here actually doing surprisingly well with his swimming. And over here we have Tywin and Gwyneth trying to forge out a beachhead with an oncoming tide of zombies. So we're going to see what we can do about that. Tywin, I don't believe, is in range to group activate. No, actually he is. He is. My mistake. He is just within 2 inches with Gwyneth. So he's going to activate with both himself, Gwyneth, and the crow Thaddeus. Oh, it's hard to know what to do here. Tywin's good at melee stuff. He's good at swinging his sword, so he's just going to move his 7 inches, which is more than enough to get him back down into the shallow waters against this zombie. That's going to be his first action. Now remember, folks, if you group activate in the ranger phase, everyone has to take their first action before anyone can take their second. So Thaddeus is going to take his first action, swoop on down to try and back up his buddy Tywin. Being a bird, he doesn't really care about the shallow water. And then Gwyneth's first action is going to be a little less brazen. She's just going to throw her throwing knife at that zombie, see if she can't deal with the threat. I don't really like her odds, but she's shoot +1 to fight. Ooh, it's going to be fight +2 right now. So, but still better than her trying to get into a fight where she's fight +0. So let's roll our dice, see how this works out. Nope, Gwyneth wastes her once per game throwing knife, because the zombie rolls a total of a 19 to her total of 15. Tough break, but could be worse, I suppose. Gwyneth is just going to burn her second action, move 7 inches all the way across this island, trying to open up some space between her and the zombie she just threw a knife at. That's her second action. Tywin's second action is going to be to fight the zombie. He is currently, with the gang up bonus he's getting from Thaddeus, he's going to have a fight bonus of +5 to the zombie's fight of +2. Okay, and finally our heroes remember how to roll a little bit well. Sorry. So we have rolled a 15 becomes a 20, becomes 25 damage to the zombie's total of 12. So like I said, because his modifiers have reached a score of 20, he gets an additional 5 damage for the crit bonus. So 25 damage, again, even with the 12 armor that the zombie has, he still takes 13 points of damage. He's only got 6 health, so that is a second zombie down. The first one got its head exploded by Bryn's musket. The second one gets cleaved down the head by an angry ranger with a sword. So Thaddeus is just gonna use his second action to kind of swing around behind Tywin. We don't want him too close to any baddies. But that does bring us to the creature phase, where our lone remaining zombie gets to move a total of 6 inches. It has a base move of 4. Second move would be a 2, so it just kind of moves 6 inches towards Gwyneth, who again needs to remember to keep her wounds with her and stop cheating. But with that being said, that is the creature phase done, because we've only got one creature on the table. Our guys are doing a pretty good job of keeping things contained. In the companion phase, we're just going to have Archibald move up the table. He's going to move up like this to the top of the island, see if he can't get a better vantage point with which to use his spells. And actually, he does have another spell that would be very specifically good here. I don't know if it's worth using on a single zombie. You know what? Yeah, let's live dangerously. His second action is going to be to activate his new spell, which he hasn't gotten a chance to use yet, which is called Burning Light. It says that any undead creatures within 6 of him take a +3 magic shooting attack. So he basically raises up that torch he's carrying. If you guys can see that there, I am liking the detail of this new lens. So he raises up his torch, and the light flares out brightly, punishing the undead creatures before him. So that creature is going to have a fight +2 to his shoot +5. Or a +3, sorry. Okay, it could have been worse. Could have been worse. So, backing up our camera a little bit, the zombie has rolled a 2, becomes a 3. The spell rolls a 12, +3, becomes a 15, which is exactly enough to do 3 points of damage to the zombie, taking it down to 3 hit points. So, I'm just going to put that over there. So, didn't kill the zombie, but has weakened it just a bit. And I'm going to take my wins where I can get them. With that being said, we're going to come over and resolve our last 2 companions. Damien, as much as I hate to do it, we're just going to move him kind of to the edge of the water and just have him stand there again, because I want to spend as little time crossing that watery gap as possible, because the water goes up to about where Gwyneth's wound marker is, the island being the only shelter from it. So if the sooner he can cross that, the shortest gap he has to cross, the better. And Bryn is going to do much the same as he's been doing. He's just going to dial up a shot at that wounded zombie, see if he can't redeem himself from missing that fly. So his shoot +2 to the zombie's fight of +2 for this turn. See how it goes. Oh, not well. It's actually not so... I mean, once again, we have rolled a tie. We have once again rolled doubles, which is starting to freak me out a little bit, but we've rolled double 7s. So normally ties would mean a character takes damage, but the problem is that 7, even with his +2, that becomes a 9, +2 damage from his crossbow gets to 11. The creature's armor is 12, so the creature takes no damage. Just kind of gets shot in the chest and shrugs it off, and Bryn is going to spend his second action frantically reloading, trying to remind everyone that he was useful last turn. But we have reached the end of turn 3, so it's time for the event phase again. Let's see how the cards do us this time. We have rolled a red jack, so what does that mean for us? Okay, we have to select one of our heroes randomly and roll a health check to see, or if they fail, they take they become diseased for the rest of the turn, which I'll have to look up what that means. But so the health roll works basically how everything else works. You take the stat that the character already has, add that to their dice roll, and if they meet or exceed what they were supposed to roll, they pass. So we have now. Under normal circumstances, I would just say, oh, I'll take it on Tywin. His armor is 18. The health roll is a target 16, so he auto-passes. Except I can't decide that. I have to randomize, and I've got 6 heroes. So we're just going to roll Bryn is 1, Damien 2, Gwyneth 3, Archie 4, Thaddeus 5, and Tywin 6. So let's see who has to take that roll. No, Thaddeus! Thaddeus only has 1 health, so he has to crank a hard 15. Let's see if he can do it. No, he does not. He rolls 1 shy of what he needed. He rolls a 14, so Thaddeus is going to count as diseased for the rest of this scenario. I'll have to look up what that means, but that brings us to the end of turn 3, where things are not looking so bad. We've managed to secure a pretty strong foothold on this island. We are slowly getting across the waters, even if it's proving a little problematic. But with that all being said, guys, that brings us to the end of the turn. I will see you at the start of the next one. All right, here we are at the start of turn 3, giving you guys a quick sweep of the board. We still have Damien and Brent. I'm just going to take down this wall because it's making it real hard to see our figures over here. So we've got Damien and Bryn standing at the edge of the stairs. We have Archie over here actually doing surprisingly well with his swimming. And over here we have Tywin and Gwyneth trying to forge out a beachhead with an oncoming tide of zombies. So we're going to see what we can do about that. Tywin, I don't believe, is in range to group activate. No, actually he is. He is. My mistake. He is just within 2 inches with Gwyneth. So he's going to activate with both himself, Gwyneth, and the crow Thaddeus. Oh, it's hard to know what to do here. Tywin's good at melee stuff. He's good at swinging his sword, so he's just going to move his 7 inches, which is more than enough to get him back down into the shallow waters against this zombie. That's going to be his first action. Now remember, folks, if you group activate in the ranger phase, everyone has to take their first action before anyone can take their second. So Thaddeus is going to take his first action, swoop on down to try and back up his buddy Tywin. Being a bird, he doesn't really care about the shallow water. And then Gwyneth's first action is going to be a little less brazen. She's just going to throw her throwing knife at that zombie, see if she can't deal with the threat. I don't really like her odds, but she's shoot +1 to fight. Ooh, it's going to be fight +2 right now. So, but still better than her trying to get into a fight where she's fight +0. So let's roll our dice, see how this works out. Nope, Gwyneth wastes her once per game throwing knife, because the zombie rolls a total of a 19 to her total of 15. Tough break, but could be worse, I suppose. Gwyneth is just going to burn her second action, move 7 inches all the way across this island, trying to open up some space between her and the zombie she just threw a knife at. That's her second action. Tywin's second action is going to be to fight the zombie. He's currently, with the gang up bonus he's getting from Thaddeus, he's going to have a fight bonus of +5 to the zombie's fight of +2. Okay, and finally our heroes remember how to roll a little bit well. Sorry. So we have rolled a 15 becomes a 20, becomes 25 damage to the zombie's total of 12. So like I said, because his modifiers have reached a score of 20, he gets an additional 5 damage for the crit bonus. So 25 damage, again, even with the 12 armor that the zombie has, he still takes 13 points of damage. He's only got 6 health, so that is a second zombie down. The first one got its head exploded by Bryn's musket. The second one gets cleaved down the head by a angry ranger with a sword. So Thaddeus is just gonna use his second action to kind of swing around behind Tywin. We don't want him too close to any baddies. But that does bring us to the creature phase, where our lone remaining zombie gets to move a total of 6 inches. It has a base move of 4. Second move would be a 2. So it just kind of moves 6 inches towards Gwyneth, who again needs to remember to keep her wounds with her and stop cheating. But with that being said, that is the creature phase done, because we've only got 1 creature on the table. Our guys are doing a pretty good job of keeping things contained. In the companion phase, we're just going to have Archibald move up the table. He's going to move up like this to the top of the island, see if he can't get a better vantage point with which to use his spells. And actually, he does have another spell that would be very specifically good here. I don't know if it's worth using on a single zombie. You know what? Yeah, let's live dangerously. His second action is going to be to activate his new spell, which he hasn't gotten a chance to use yet, which is called Burning Light. It says that any undead creatures within 6 of him take a +3 magic shooting attack. So he basically raises up that torch he's carrying. If you guys can see that there, I am liking the detail of this new lens. So he raises up his torch, and the light flares out brightly, punishing the undead creatures before him. So that creature's going to have a fight +2 to his shoot +5. Or a +3, sorry. Okay, it could have been worse. Could have been worse. So, backing up our camera a little bit, the zombie has rolled a 2, becomes a 3. The spell rolls a 12, +3, becomes a 15, which is exactly enough to do 3 points of damage to the zombie, taking it down to 3 hit points. So, I'm just gonna put that over there. So, didn't kill the zombie, but has weakened it just a bit. And I'm going to take my wins where I can get them. With that being said, we're going to come over and resolve our last 2 companions. Damien, as much as I hate to do it, we're just going to move him kind of to the edge of the water and just have him stand there again, because I want to spend as little time crossing that watery gap as possible, because the water goes up to about where Gwyneth's wound marker is, the island being the only shelter from it. So the sooner he can cross that, the shortest gap he has to cross, the better. And Bryn is going to do much the same as he's been doing. He's just going to dial up a shot at that wounded zombie, see if he can't redeem himself from missing that fly. So his shoot +2 to the zombie's fight of +2 for this turn. See how it goes. Oh, not well. It's actually not so... I mean, once again, we have rolled a tie. We have once again rolled doubles, which is starting to freak me out a little bit, but we've rolled double 7s. So normally ties would mean a character takes damage, but the problem is that 7, even with his +2, that becomes a 9, +2 damage from his crossbow, gets to an 11. The creature's armor is 12, so the creature takes no damage. Just kind of gets shot in the chest and shrugs it off, and Bryn is going to spend his second action frantically reloading, trying to remind everyone that he was useful last turn. But we have reached the end of turn 3, so it's time for the event phase again. Let's see how the cards do us this time. We have rolled a red jack, so what does that mean for us? Okay, we have to select one of our heroes randomly and roll a health check to see, or if they fail, they take they become diseased for the rest of the turn, which I'll have to look up what that means. But so the health roll works basically how everything else works. You take the stat that the character already has, add that to their dice roll, and if they meet or exceed what they were supposed to roll, they pass. So we have now, under normal circumstances, I would just say, oh, I'll take it on Tywin. His armor is 18. The health roll is a target 16, so he auto passes. Except I can't decide that. I have to randomize. I've got 6 heroes, so we're just gonna roll. Bryn is 1, Damien 2, Gwyneth 3, Archie 4, Thaddeus 5, and Tywin 6. So let's see who has to take that roll. No, Thaddeus! Thaddeus only has 1 health, so he has to crank a hard 15. Let's see if he can do it. No, he does not. He rolls 1 shy of what he needed. He rolls a 14, so Thaddeus is going to count as diseased for the rest of this scenario. I'll have to look up what that means, but that brings us to the end of turn 3, where things are not looking so bad. We've managed to secure a pretty strong foothold on this island. We are slowly getting across the waters, even if it's proving a little problematic. But with that all being said, guys, that brings us to the end of the turn. I will see you at the start of the next one. And here we are at the start of turn 4, with our heroes making their way across the table. I've just looked at the rules for the disease roll Thaddeus just failed. The disease rule won't have any real effect in this game, but at the start of the next game, he would start the game off with at -3 health and -1 to all his rolls. But what that means is he only has 1 health, that -3 would just take him down. It means he just straight up misses the next game. So Thaddeus has apparently breathed in some horrible gases from the Shadowdeep and is just not feeling so great. And he's going to have to be tucked into Tywin's satchel to just chill out and try to feel better. Got himself a nasty flu. But like I said, not going to have any effect on him for this game. Which I suppose isn't the worst thing in the world, but it does mean we're going to be down our trusty crow companion in the next game. But with that being said, we have a bit of a situation. So Tywin has to come up here and deal with this zombie, because I don't particularly fancy Gwyneth's chances of fighting it, because she's got fight +0. Now, to be fair, the zombie is back to fight +0 now, because they're no longer getting that +2 fight from the last turn. But all the same, I'm just not loving their odds. So Tywin can only group activate with Thaddeus, I believe. Yeah, he is just outside of 2 inches from Gwyneth, so he's not going to be able to group activate with her. Tywin is just going to have to hop up here with his first action. Thaddeus is going to fly around with his. So there we go with with them ganging up on yet another zombie. See if they can't repeat their success from last time. But let's see. So Tywin is going to, again, because both of them have taken their first action, Tywin is going to take his second and swing on this zombie with a fight of +5, thanks to his gang up bonus to the zombie's fight of +0. So let's see how this works out. No, unfortunately not. Tywin rolls himself a 9, which means he, even with the +5, that only gets him to a 14 to the zombie's 18. Ooh, so the zombie gets an 18. He only has armor of 12, so that would be 6 damage. He is going to pop his ability Roll with the Punches. So he's only going to take a total of 3 damage, and I'll have to mark that up a bit. He's going to be down to 15 health. His Rangers start off with 18. And so, yeah, he'll be down to 15 wounds. He has lost that battle. Let's go ahead and have Thaddeus see if he can't roll a little better. He's going to be fight +2 to the zombie's fight +0. Come on, Thaddeus. It is a tie, because the Thaddeus gets a +2 to this, so they would normally both take damage, but oddly enough, both of them have armor so high. Thaddeus has an armor of 14, because apparently crows come with, like, armored feathers I didn't know about. But no, realistically, his high armor is probably meant to just signify his ability to flap away from the impact of any of attacks. But his total score is a 12, 10 +2. The zombie is exactly armor 12, so Thaddeus goes in to try and defend his master and ends up not doing any damage, so that's going to be a bit of a problem. But that brings us to the end of the ranger phase. Going right into the creature phase, we've only got 1 creature, so the zombie is going to strike back at Thaddeus, because unfortunately that is how the rules work. He has the lowest health. So again, fight +2 to fight +0. Come on, Thaddeus. Okay. It's not so bad. It is not so bad at all. Thaddeus has won the roll-off, but again, our zombie has rolled a 4. Thaddeus is going to get a total of a 9, but that's still not enough to do any damage. And Thaddeus could force the zombie back, but it has a second action, and it would just move back into base contact, so it wouldn't really achieve much. So with all that being said, we are going to move this zombie's wound marker down here. Just try to remember that it's at 3 wounds. And we're going to move into the companion phase where we're going to have Archie come roaring in here, try to help out his buddies. He's going to have a fight of +2 because he's normally fight plus nothing, being a spellcaster. So he's fight +2 now thanks to the double gang up bonus. So let's see if he can't win out over this zombie who has been rolling annoyingly hot. No, he cannot. The zombie rolls an 11. That is really frustrating. He only rolls a total of a 7, so again, with his light armor, he has exactly armor of 11, takes no damage, but inflicts no damage, and actually ends up losing that fight. So this zombie is somehow engaging half my party right now. And as much as I would love to send Gwyneth in there to try and finish the job, she has other things to do. So it's going to take her, she's going to head off towards this clue marker over here, see if she can't earn us some more XP. She's only going to get 2 inches of movement before she hits rough terrain, so the last 5 are going to come out to a 2.5, so she's going to move 4.5 inches getting here. And she's wading through these shallow waters of this swamp. I hope you guys can understand why I didn't dump water on this table to signify it. But, because I would hate to ruin this wonderful mat, who, by the way, was brought to us by Table War. No, sorry, that is not an all great view of their logo. There we go, Table War. See, Table War should totally sponsor me. Look at how sloppily I'm presenting their logo. But the guys over at Table War do make some incredible mats that we're playing on right now. But anyways, Gwyneth has moved across this fantastic Table War map towards our other clue marker. And she's gonna, that is only her first move, so she is gonna get a second move. So she's going to move another 3.5 inches, getting just shy of this fence. And so she should be able to make it to that clue marker in her next turn. That being said, it is now Damien's turn to go for a swim. His total of 9 for a double move goes down to a 4.5, so he just barely doesn't make it. And now has to make a swim check at -2. The first -1 being because he has light armor. The second minus because he has a shield. So he's going to need a 12 or better. But surprisingly, our guys are apparently really strong swimmers. Apparently the Rangers pride themselves on their swimming ability because our buddy cranks an 18, goes down to a 16, but still more than enough to pass the 10 he needed. Over here, we're going to have Bryn just kind of tentatively walk to the edge of the safe area before he attempts a crossing in his next turn. But with that being said, he is still on 10 wounds. Don't know why I moved his wound marker. But with that being said, we have reached the end of the companion phase. And just a quick reminder for those of you who might be busily typing in the comments, the reason Gwyneth is no longer making swimming checks is because once you're past where her wound marker is, the water is no longer deep enough to require a swim check. It just goes from being deep water over here at where the player's character started to over here at the rest of the board. It's just shallow water. The shallow water doesn't really have any negative effects. They don't have to swim through it because it's only really coming up to like their knees. But the point is that it's slowing them down, providing the whole table with rough terrain, which is a bit of a pain. But with all that out of the way, we have reached the end of turn 4 out of a possible 10. So let's flip over our event card. That is going to be a red 5. I'm going to try to point the camera at the table again, at the book again, even though it doesn't seem to like it that much. Okay, so a red 5 is a null patrol passing through. I'm supposed to place 2 null archers and a fighter on a center point of a randomly determined table edge. So I know you can't really make that out with how far away the camera is, but if I get any closer, it gets super blurry. So coming back over here to our game board, I'm going to have to randomly pick a table edge. And in one of them, a bunch of nulls are about to show up. So that's not great news for me. But we'll just have to see how it works out. And I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. And here we are at the start of turn 5. Taking a quick sweep of the board, we've got our heroes trying to move up discover a little bit more of this terrain, but unfortunately for Gwyneth, a null patrol, we had to randomize what table edge it came in, and we randomized for this one, so these gnolls are going to be making a beeline straight for her. Means she's going to be taking at least 2 shots from archers, and fortunately, I guess the one saving grace is that this gnoll does not have the amphibious trait, so he's going to be at half movement just like she is. So he's going to have just as much trouble moving through these waters as she will. Small mercies, I guess. But over here at the central island, we are going to be group activating with our Ranger and Archibald and Thaddeus. So Tywin is going to be taking the first swing. He's going to try and finish this wounded zombie, see if he can't just solve our problems right at the beginning. Now, he is normally fight +5, has a double gang up bonus for a fight of +6 right now. So the zombie is fight plus nothing. And we're going to try rolling with some darker d20s here, see if they have a little bit easier time showing up on camera. So Tywin has rolled, in traditional fashion, we use the green dice to signify good guys. Anything else is bad guys. Wow, that shows up even worse on camera. So I'm just going to have to ask you guys to take my word for it that the baddie has rolled a 13, which becomes just a 13. Tywin rolls a 17, which becomes a 23, which is a 28 damage after the crit bonus. So Tywin, apparently being very tired of this zombie's nonsense, just impales it with his sword, throwing it off into the shallows, never to be seen again. But yeah, we're not going to be using those dice anymore because holy crap, you cannot see them for anything. We're just going to frantically search for where I put the other dice. There they are. And with that being done, we're going to have... what are our heroes going to do for their actions? So Archie is just going to move about 5 inches this way. He has a movement of 6, but with the reaching the water, he loses an inch of movement. And Thaddeus, I think, is just gonna go with him. Is he? Question mark. Actually, I don't believe he is. I think he's actually gonna go help out Gwyneth, who's about to get swarmed by a bunch of gnolls. So Thaddeus has a ridiculous movement of 9, which that alone with his flying means he's gonna get right over to her. And then he's going to move a little bit farther up because she's about to move up. But with that being said, Archie is moving off in pursuit of whatever this clue marker is. He sees a treasure chest and thinks, yay, I'm going to be a wealthy wizard for once, rather than carrying around my ragged robes and weird little torch. As for Tywin's second action, he's going to follow Thaddeus' brave example and go try to help Gwyneth. Sorry about that, just filming random pieces of terrain. So his first 2 inches will be unimpeded, then he's going to take another 2.5. So his movement will get him to right about there. And getting rid of that marker and these useless dice. We now have arrived at the creature phase, so the only creatures left on the table are the Gnoll Patrol. And we are just going to have them move normal. Well, the fighter is going to move normally because he doesn't really have a choice in the matter. He's going to be moving towards Gwyneth. Now, his movement is going to be impeded, so he's only going to have a total of 4.5 inches of movement, so he's only going to get to, like, there. So, yeah, it's going to take him a few turns to try and catch up with Gwyneth because she is noticeably faster. However, the archers are not going to move at all. They have a clean line of sight on her, and they are shoot +2 to her fight +0. So, she has a pretty good chance of taking some heavy fire here. So, she's going to see if she can dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. Great movie reference there, Kev. So, we're just going to roll our dice over here. Okay, so it's not that bad. She does lose because she rolls a total of a 4 to the Gnoll rolls a 3, but that becomes a 5. Unfortunately, that 5 is not enough to do anything to her armor of 11. So that's the first shot weathered, reasonably intact. Let's see what the second shot has to offer. Nothing, because Gwyneth rolls an 18 to the Null's roll of a 9, which becomes an 11. So even if it had 1, it wouldn't have done any damage. But with that being said, Gwyneth has weathered the Null attacks pretty darn well. The first arrow just kind of plinking off her shoulder pad, the other one missing her entirely. Things are going pretty well for her, other than that initial breathing in of noxious fumes. So, in our companion phase, real quick, Gwyneth is going to move 3.5 inches, then another, like, 1 1/4. That's going to get her right into base contact with this clue marker. So we're just going to roll up real quick what it is. Now, we already rolled one result. We cannot get that result again. So we now have rolled a 14. Let's look at the table to see what that is. Again, I'm not going to turn the camera to it because the camera really does not seem to like looking at the book. Unfortunately, the 14 is the same result we already rolled, so we do need to roll again. 18 this time. Sorry if you guys have a little trouble seeing that. So yes, we have rolled an 18. Focus. There we go. An 18. And let's see, that is a bone blade. So she needs to make an armory roll of 6. And if successful, she finds a special sword. Okay, so she has armory nothing. So she needs to roll a 6 or better to find this special sword. And she cranks a 14, so she has successfully found a bone blade. Which means that from now on, when she uses a sword, she's not using her dagger anymore. When she makes a melee attack, she will no longer be making it with her dagger, which is -1 damage. She will now be making it with a bone blade. So she will get +1 to her fight rolls if she is fighting zombies. Or not zombies, anything undead, she gets a +1 to fight against. And means that she's no longer taking a damage penalty. So, because normally when she fights with her dagger, it does 1 less damage than it normally would. But anyways, moving on to our other companions, Damien is just finally going to get up on this island, and he's going to kind of move to the edge of this peak here, and just dramatically look out over the surroundings to see what he can see. Bryn over here is going to try to get past this gap as quick as he can. He has a movement of 7, which goes down to 3.5, then 1 1/4, which does get him to the island. So apparently, even with his thick leather jacket, or thick leather duster coat and heavy musket, Bryn came to play and will not have to take a swimming check, because moving through that deep water, he manages to get to the island just fine. Alright, so that brings us to the end of the companion phase. Damien has managed to dart up the slope of the island to look out majestically over this putrid swamp. Bryn has made it to the island and is currently sopping wet in all his heavy brown leather, and Gwyneth is playing a high-stakes game of dodgeball against some gnolls, having just found a sword made of bone hiding beneath the shallow waters of the swamp. But it is time for the event phase again, which turns out to be a red 3. I'm going to try this one more time. See if we can't zoom in on what that says. Okay, actually, we can make it out on the camera. Thank you for zoom lenses. Red 3 is place a swamp zombie in a randomly determined corner of the table. Alright, that's actually not so bad. So coming back to our normal view of the table, we're going to have to randomize a table corner. So we're going to start off with that table corner. That'll be 1 to 5 when I roll my d20. And then we'll move clockwise from there in groups of 5. So we have rolled... Oop, come on, focus camera. We have rolled a 9, so the zombie will be showing up in that corner. If we'd rolled a 1 to a 5, it'd be there. 6 to 10, up there in that corner. So the zombie is going to be starting pretty far away from us, which suits me just fine. But with that being said, we've got one more enemy coming in, and we've got a pack of gnolls to try and deal with over here. Hopefully our buddies can help us out with that. But we'll just have to find out at the start of the next turn. Here we are at the start of turn 6 of a possible 10, taking a quick sweep of the board. We have Bryn and Damien heroically standing on this island, feeling very proud of themselves for not drowning. We have Tywin, Thaddeus, and Gwyneth moving up this flank of the table, trying to get themselves in a good position to get away from these gnolls who are moving up the table at them. And over here we have Archibald the Wizard, greedily heading after a treasure chest with a zombie emerging from the corners. So, hopping into the Ranger phase, Tywin is not close enough to group activate with anyone, but he is going to bravely charge the enemy to try and distract them from Gwyneth, even as my tape measure slowly destroys the terrain around him. So, his normal movement of 7... back up. 7 is going to go down to 3.5 with another inch and a quarter. So he's going to move a little under 5 inches, getting just to the table, or just to the edge of that fence line, which will make him the closest target, Gwyneth having moved off in the previous turn to get that clue marker. So he has successfully made himself the target of the enemy, with the guts of 2 zombies slicking his blade. He is now running at the zombies, yelling and hollering like a madman. Or, sorry, running at the gnolls, yelling and hollering like a madman to grab their attention. And seeing this crazed woodsman with a sword charging at them, they decide to deal with him instead. Which does bring us to the creature phase, where our hero is not going to be engaged by the Gnoll Fighter just yet. The Gnoll Fighter has to spend both of its actions on movement just to get into base contact with him. And we're just going to move him like that. Because of the way these guys are modeled, it's going to be kind of hard to achieve true base contact. Oh, whoa, hello. The camera did not like that. Because of the way these guys are modeled, it's going to be a little hard to achieve true base contact, but this looks a little cooler, in my opinion. We have this awful little rat man fighting our heroic ranger. And I'm hoping you guys can appreciate the theatricality of that. But we do have, because our awful little rat man who has gotten into base contact with Tywin. Tywin is still the closest friendly creature to the archers, so the archers over here do still need to engage him. But because he's in base contact with a model, they have to randomize who they're going to hit. So we're going to have to roll that up with our dice over here. So first of all, we're going to do archer number 1 on our left here. Is going to randomize on a 1 to 10. It hits our ranger. On an 11 plus, it hits the gnoll. We roll ourselves. Hello. We roll ourselves an 18. Yes, an 18. And so that means the archer has hit its gnoll buddy. Oh dear. So it's going to be shoot +2 to his fight +2. So our gnoll archer has rolled a 19, becomes a 21. Now, baddies cannot crit, even if I would like them to. And our gnoll fighter has rolled a 3, which becomes a 5. So 21 points of damage against his armor of 11. So that, let's see, 11 minus 1, that's still 10 points of damage, which is exactly enough to kill the gnoll. Yes, gnoll fighters only have 10 hit points, so that gnoll just takes an arrow to the back of the head from his buddy. That is not how I expected that to go. And to be honest, I'm a little angry at that gnoll for stealing my kill. But oh well, I suppose I'll get over it. So, but that means that gnoll number 2 on the right will have a clean line of sight on Tywin, who is just kind of looking in surprise as an arrow bursts through the head of his opponent. But our archer is going to have a shoot of +2 to Tywin's fight of +4. So let's just... Okay, so Tywin has rolled a 16, +4 becomes a 20. The archer has rolled a 15, comes to 17. So the second arrow just bounces off Tywin's shield, doing no damage. So the gnolls showed up, waddled through some swamp water, then immediately killed one of their own guys. And did nothing to a ranger. God, I love dice games, guys. I don't know what to tell you. So coming over to the companion phase, we're just going to have Bryn, who actually, oddly enough, is going to have line of sight to this archer just past this tree trunk. I am going to give the archer some light cover, just because, yeah, that's what I would do for myself if I was getting shot at. So the tree is going to provide the gnoll with some light cover from Bryn, who is going to try to dial up a shot. So he's going to go from shoot +2 to shoot +1, effectively, to the archer's fight of +0. So let's see what happens here. Oh, okay. Apparently, Bryn has remembered how his musket works. He has remembered all his marksmanship training. He rolls a 19, +1 becomes a 20. So that's going to be a crit to the gnoll, who only rolled a 12. Yeah, so let me... These dice are not showing up great on camera. So the gnoll has rolled a 12. You can see that pretty clearly. Our good guy has rolled Bryn has rolled a 19. So a loud crack of the musket is heard. A shot rings past this tree into the face of the gnoll archer, who is just shocked at having killed his own companion before getting immediately shot in the face with a black powder musket. Splat. So that is 2 of our enemies dealt with. Bryn, as much as I would love for him to reload his musket, I don't love where he's at position-wise, so he's just going to move up the table next to Damien, so he'll have to reload his musket next turn. Damien, on the other hand... Oh, sorry. We did skip a portion of the creature phase. This shambling zombie needs to move forward 6 inches, so he's going to end up right about there, moving closer to Archibald, who is undeterred and still going to move his like 4 1/4 inches, getting a little bit closer to this. So Archibald is very nearly to our final clue marker, because I feel like getting some more XP, and I feel like Archibald, being a wizard, is so fixated on making a discovery that he doesn't even notice the reanimated corpse walking towards him. I actually don't think Damien is going to go to help him. I think he's just going to rely on Bryn to cover him. He is going to come down to the bottom of the table, or the bottom of that hill, shouting for Archibald to come back, saying, "Hey, you moron, there's a thing about to eat you." But with that all being said, Gwyneth, despite being grateful for Tywin's assistance, is going to start dipping out, because that is her roguish way. She's going to move a total of 4 1/2 inches, because 3 1/2, so roughly about 5 inches total with a double move, getting her right over by that tree. And Thaddeus, on the other hand, is a crow made of sterner stuff, because the only way our characters can reach the table edge, remember folks, they started over here by this rock wall, so the only way they can exit the table is via the opposite edge. They cannot exit via these side edges. So Gwyneth is going to try to make for the exit, earn us a little more XP, but also I just feel like that fits with her nature. She's grateful for the assistance, but says, "Thanks, you got this, champ, I'm out of here," taking her bone sword and beating feet out of here. But as I said, Thaddeus is a crow of sterner stuff, and is instead going to use his prodigious movement to double move right into base contact with the archer. Thaddeus truly is the best of us. But with that said, we have reached the end of turn 6, so it is time for another event card. And we get a red ace. Let's see if we can't repeat our magic and figure out what a red ace does over here. Okay, randomly... Okay, we're just gonna randomly choose one hero that is in deep water. Place a swamp zombie in combat with that figure. If no one's in deep water, place a swamp zombie at the center point of the table edge opposite the stairway. Sorry if that got a little blurry there, guys. So because there are no... if we had anyone still in the deep water, we would be obliged to put one of them in contact with a zombie But there's no one there, so instead, there's just going to be a zombie showing up right around where my tape measure is. Or more specifically, where this little tyrannid fell over. So that is going to be where the zombie is going to show up at the start of the next turn, and I will see you guys when we get started in the next turn. Here we are at the start of turn 7, and again, just taking a quick sweep of the board, we've got Tywin facing down a null archer with the help of Thaddeus. We have a chicken heart rogue heading for the table edge, where the loud booming of Bryn's musket seems to have drawn more of the undead. We've now got 2 zombies moving in. It's not great news for our heroes, because we've got Archibald going for that last marker with a zombie coming to get him. We'll see if he can get out of there without too much trouble. But we start off in the Ranger phase, where Tywin, seeing his buddy Thaddeus bravely roaring into combat, Tywin puts on the speed. Unfortunately, he has already used his dash ability, so he's only going to have a 3.5, roughly 5-inch move. That's going to get him to about here. So Tywin is not going to quite make it, and then Thaddeus is going to have to fight this null Mono Alberto. So we'll see how that goes. Thaddeus is going to have a fight +0 to the archer's fight of +0. So let's see how that works out. Okay. Oh no. Unfortunately, Thaddeus does go down. Ugh. That's not great. Let's see if Thaddeus survives this though. Okay, so Thaddeus is immediately taken out of action by a swipe of the archer's bow, but he has rolled an 18 on his out-of-action check, so he's going to be completely fine. He's not going to suffer any lasting effects. But he is removed from play, which is not ideal. So that could have gone better. We've lost, but it does mean that this archer can only make 1 attack in the creature phase. So because he cannot make another attack action, he must move directly towards Tywin, which he does. So that is the null finished with his section of the creature phase, because I don't know if I mentioned we are now in the creature phase. Just going to need to come over here and grab my tape measure. And so now we have to focus on the zombie moving towards Gwyneth. Again, these swamp zombies are amphibious and thus immune to the rough terrain caused by this water, but they've only got a movement of 4 inches, so that's a total move of 6 with the double move, ending right there, not quite getting to Gwyneth, so she is going to have at least some ability to try and dodge out of the way or fight. On the other hand, we've got our buddy Archie over here dealing with another zombie. So he's going to have a 4-inch move that won't quite get him to that wall. And then the other 2 inches will just get him through the gap. So the zombie's going to end up something like that. Not quite making it to Archie. But Archibald the Wizard, being the imprudent man that he is just going to pop his last spell and dump a fireball immediately behind that zombie, just out of range to avoid hitting himself. So that zombie is going to take a +3 magical attack. So apparently that torch is full of all kinds of useful stuff. Aside from sending out a magic bolt that did nothing, doing some damage with his burning light spell. Let's see if he can now do a little bit better with the fireball. So it's going to be a +3 shooting attack to the zombie's fight +0. No! Another spell does nothing. Because our nefarious zombie has rolled a 19 to Archibald's 4, which becomes a 7. So yeah, the fireball just... See, here's what the problem is. He sent a fireball into shallow water, so the fireball just immediately fizzled out. Archie, what were you thinking? But his second action is just going to be to move into base contact with the last clue marker. So we're just going to pick that up real quick. And because there's only 2 results left on the clue marker table, we're just going to do this on a simple 1 to 10, 11 to 20. So that becomes a 3. Yes, you can make that out. And so a 3 is just a treasure token. So Archibald will be carrying a treasure token until the end of the scenario, and then after the game, we will just have to roll it up and see what it is. But yeah, so we found a treasure token. We've cleared out all of the clue markers. We are over to the companion phase, where Gwyneth is going to feel bold. She is newly armed with her bone sword, so she's just going to run straight into her foe with such thunder that apparently she knocked over a tree. She is normally fight +0, but her bone sword is going to give her a +1 against this zombie. So we're going to roll this up here, see what we can do. Unfortunately, the zombie came way more prepared. Gwyneth rolls a total of a 3. The zombie rolls a 9. Now, still not enough to damage her at all, but not what we were really hoping to see there. Oh well. Over here, we're just going to have Damien begrudgingly charge off 3 and then 1.5 inches, so that's going to be a 4.5 inch move. And yeah, so he's going to try and get into a position to rescue Archie from this zombie, but the zombie it's looking like is going to be able to get in a round of combat against Archie, assuming Bryn here can't drop it with a musket shot. So he's just going to spend his first action to reload his musket, seeing Archibald is in trouble, and then he's going to dial up a shot against the zombie with his shoot of +2. So, Bryn, show us what you can do. Keep on being the hero we know you can be. He does okay. So he does win, his shot does land, he does win the roll-off, so he's rolled an 11, +2 becomes a 13. And then with an additional +2 of damage, his total damage becomes 15, minus the 12 of the zombie's armor. So he's going to do 3 damage, taking our zombie down to half wounds. So the shot booms out, doesn't quite drop the zombie, but slams into his chest, stumbling him back. He bashes his head against the stone wall and is looking a little worse for wear, a little easier to dash to pieces. But that is everyone's actions expended, which brings us to the end of turn 7. We are closing in on the end of this game, and it's going to be time to draw another event card. So, what does the deck of many horrors have for us? It is a red 2. If I'm not mistaken, that's going to be another zombie placement. Yes, it is. It is yet another zombie being placed in a random table corner. So this corner will be 1 to 5, and in groups of 5 we will move clockwise. So we've rolled a 1, so that is going to be a zombie showing up in that corner over there, which honestly probably isn't going to amount to much. We've only got 3 turns left. But anyways, taking another quick pan of the table, we've got Tywin getting ready to square off with this archer, a pair of undead, making our lives difficult over at the other table edge. And I don't know is that anyone's actually going to be able to make it off the table before the end of the scenario. So that'll be interesting. And I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. And here we are at the start of turn 8, and we're going to just leap right into the ranger phase, where Tywin is going to spend his first action to get into base contact with this archer, and his second action to fight. So he's going to try and finish off the last of this patrol. His fight +4 to the gnolls, fight +0. Let's see how it goes. Okay, Tywin has lived up to his reputation as a ranger, cranking a natural 20, going up to a 24, becomes a 29 points of damage, so this gnoll suffers critical existence failure. Just splats apart, just like the zombies that he killed before. Although, oddly enough, Tywin ended up, as much as Tywin charged the enemy, he ended up not having to do a whole hell of a lot. One of the gnolls killed its own fighter, Bryn shot that archer, and then the last one just kind of threw itself onto Tywin's sword. So this patrol that I thought was going to be a huge problem ended up not being, oddly enough. But over here, we are now into the creature phase, because Tywin wasn't close enough to group activate, because poor Thaddeus has abandoned us, been struck down by a foul archer. Tywin, I'm sure, is grieving over his buddy and gently packing him away so that he can rest and overcome whatever horrible disease he picked up earlier in the game. So we are now into the creature phase, where Gwyneth is going to be attacked by this zombie. again, her bone sword giving her a bit of an edge with fight +1 to fight +0. Okay, and it pays off, apparently. Well, yes and no. The result was an 18, which thanks to her bone sword becomes a 19. The zombie only rolled a 16. I don't know if you can quite make that out. So yeah, that's a 19 to a 16, or 18 to a 16, but becomes a 19 to a 16 in favor of Gwyneth. So Gwyneth is going to, so 19 points of damage against 12 armor. That becomes 7 points of damage, which is going to be enough to kill the zombie. So this zombie comes lunging forward out of the mist, drawn by the loud booms of Bryn's musket, shoves Gwyneth back a little bit before Gwyneth takes her newfound bone blade and lobs the zombie's head clean off. Yeetus deletus. But over here in this corner, we now have to resolve this zombie bum rushing our spellcaster. So the zombie's just going to move for his first action, second action attack. They are both fight +0. So let's see how this works out. Oh no! The zombie has rolled a natural 20. Now, again, the rules do state that monsters cannot gain critical effect, but still, that is going to be a total of 9 points of damage, taking Archie down to just 1 health. Oh dear. So, Archie is in a little bit of trouble. Damien, seeing this zombie pinning Archibald down and trying to take a bite out of him, Damien swings his sword free of its scabbard and comes charging into the zombie, hoping to do it to him what he did to the fly at the bottom of the staircase. So, Damien is going to be using his fight +3, which becomes a fight +4 thanks to the gang up bonus, and the zombie will have a fight +0. But it doesn't seem to matter, because Damien ends up with just a 17 to the zombie's 18. He's going to take 6 points of damage with his 12 armor. He's going to end up with just 6 health remaining. Oh dear. So this zombie clearly came to play. With all that being said, Bryn over here has a whole lot of nothing to do, so he's just going to reload his musket and stand there twiddling his thumbs. But that does bring... Oh, we actually haven't done Gwyneth's actual activation. She killed that creature in its own activation. So she is going to end up with a roughly 5-inch move. Yes, so she ends up over like this. And next turn should be able to make it off the table. So now that she has lobbed off a zombie's head, she really feels like she's contributed everything she needed to this particular battle. And that will bring us to the end of turn 8, closing in on the end of the game. Draw ourselves another event card, and we draw the red 8, oddly enough. Give me 1 second to take a look at what that means. It just means that another one of these weird insectoid creatures comes down at the base of the stairs. So this is technically supposed to be a giant fly. I'm pretty sure I explained that to you guys in the first scenario. But I don't have any giant fly models, and I don't particularly feel like getting any. So, Tyrannid Hormagaunts it is. So this little Tyrannid has just appeared at the bottom of the stairs saying, "Why am I not in 40k?" And is getting ready to jump on Bryn, who hopefully will be able to continue his track record of accuracy in this scenario. But with that being said, we have reached the end of turn 8, and I will see you guys at the start of the next turn. Alright, starting off turn 9 with a horrible mountain creature descending the stairs, Bryn frantically reloading his musket to try and deal with it, and Tywin kind of taken out of the game to a certain extent. He's not really going to be able to do much with his movement halved in this rough terrain. He's so off to one side. So he's going to move about 5 inches, and that's the ranger phase done. He moves 5 inches towards Bryn, and that's about it. The fly now gets to move a total of... its movement is... Because the fly obviously flies and doesn't have to worry about the deep water, his movement is completely unimpeded, and he's going to have enough movement to get into base contact with Bryn, who is not going to get to reload his musket in time. And then over here we come to the zombie in combat with Archie. Archie is now going to be fight +1 to the zombies fight +0. Let's see if he can break the... Oh no. Oh dear, oh dear. The zombie has rolled a 15, which is going to be enough to do the 1 damage he needs to take Archie out of action. What is going to happen to Archie? Let's roll his out of action check. Okay, but it's not too bad. Archie finally manages to roll decently. Rolls a 15, which is going to be a full recovery result on the out of action table. So Archibald does go down, manages to hold on to the treasure token he found, but will not be getting a progression for this mission because obviously he's been taken out of action. But going into the companion phase, not a lot of left to do. Gwyneth is just going to say later, suckers, and run off the table. Damien is going to try to take another swing, even as he sees Archibald being bashed against the swamp, against the cobblestones of the ruins, or I suppose. His fight +3 to fight +0. Okay, here we go. Appears Damien has managed to unstick his foot and remember what his sword is for. So he rolls a total of an 18, which does 6 damage, which oddly enough would have one-shot the zombie, if only he could have done that 1 turn earlier. Oh well. So the zombie is taken out of action. Damien should be, honestly, with how few turns we have left, he should be totally okay. But here we have to deal with Bryn in combat with the Fly. He's going to have a fight of +1 against fight of +0. Oh dear, the Fly rolls a 14, which is going to do 3 points of damage, taking our buddy Bryn down to 7 wounds. Not a great start, and so Bryn is just stuck in combat there. So we've actually done a pretty decent job of clearing out the table. The zombies are all dead, the Null Patrol is dead, but Bryn over here is shouting for help dealing with this annoying little fly. Oh, Bryn. Just when I thought you were going to learn how to be useful again. So that brings us to the end of turn 9, the last turn of the game coming up. But our event phase is a red 4. Let's take a look at what that means in the rulebook. It literally just says it places a swamp zombie in a random corner, which effectively means nothing. We've only got 1 more turn to play, but let's go ahead and stick to the rule anyway. We roll a 13, so this zombie is going to show up just kind of over here by the ruins where I've been leaving some of my stuff. So we're just going to have the zombie show up like there, so you guys don't have to constantly be looking at my mess of dice. But again, it's not going to mean anything. I guess the zombie is vaguely trailing after Gwyneth as she leads it away. We're only going to have 1 more turn to play, so this zombie probably isn't going to amount to much. And actually, with that being said, we're just going to go ahead and jump into the final turn. It's not going to amount to much. Tywin isn't in range to do anything. Damien isn't in range to do anything. They can't even get off the table. The zombie isn't in range to do anything. So effectively, turn 10 just amounts to the Fly attacking Bryn and then Bryn attacking the Fly. So let's roll those 2 attack sequences up real quick and then we can call it a day. So let's roll the Fly attacking Bryn, fight +1 to fight +0. Bryn rolls a natural 1, because of course he does. He's decided he's all done being useful this game. So he rolls that 1. Let's see if we can't get a little of that reflection to go away. So yeah, he rolls a natural 1. The Fly has rolled an 8, which does win, but ultimately does nothing because he's in armor of 11. So this Tyrannid creature bashes a claw against the thick leather of his coat, not quite managing to break through. So now Bryn is going to try to swing back. And he does roll an 11, becomes a 12, but the Fly has rolled a 14, doing another 3 points of damage. So Bryn goes down to 4 wounds. And then the scenario ends. We have reached the bottom of turn 10, so that is the last turn of the game. And we can just narratively assume that somewhere in the scrum, Damien and Tywin managed to squirm their way back through the swamp, back up to the island, and drive their swords through this Tyrannid and save Bryn. So that brings us to the end of the game. We have successfully survived our arrival into the Shadowdeep. Not that it went super swimmingly, half the party taken out of action, but nobody permanently injured, although Thaddeus is going to be missing the next game. Could have been worse, So now what we need to do is make a navigation roll. We're going to go ahead and have Tywin do that, because I believe he has a +4 to this. And he is looking for a target number of 8. And he cranks it on a 16. With a +4, it becomes a 20. So he has cranked his navigation roll, and we have successfully mapped this section of the Shadowdeep after having successfully mapped the stairs. So we're all looking pretty good on that front. That brings us to the true end of the game. There is no more to be seen on this table. I'm going to start cleaning things up, and I will see you guys in the outro so we can tally up experience and let you know what's going on. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have reached the end of the second scenario. It didn't go quite as smoothly as the first one, but we kind of saw that coming. The first one went so swimmingly, we had to run out of luck eventually. But, you know, only half of our party got taken out. No one's suffering any permanent removals, or permanent injuries, I should say. And more permanent removals. Nobody died, which is a marked improvement from the first scenario we did in this campaign, so it could be worse. We did check the experience that we earned. We only got about 37 experience points, not enough to level up. The treasure token we found ended up just being... We rolled about the most generic result you can on the treasure table. We rolled gold and jewels, which that just means you can either give an extra 10 XP to your ranger or 1 progression point to a companion. So we gave a progression point to Archibald, seeing as he was taken out of action and wouldn't have gotten one otherwise. But yeah, so Archibald will be getting his progression point. Gwyneth... I guess Gwyneth technically wasn't removed from play. She just left the table. Thaddeus survived, but is diseased, so he will be missing out the next game. And yeah, that's about everything there is to know in terms of admin. The mission has been a success, technically. We had to fight our way through a vicious pack of swamp zombies and kill a patrol of gnolls before they could alert the enemy to our presence. But all of that seemed to have gone off without much of a hitch, including one of the gnolls shooting their own fighter in the back of the head with an arrow. Whatever, we'll take our luck where we can get it. But yeah, with all that being said, Tywin's mission into the Shadowdeep is only beginning. There's one more scenario to play through to see what we can find in this shadowy and mysterious realm. And that we'll just have to wait until next week. If you guys want to find out how this mission ends, be sure to tune in next time. We do these videos every Friday, although at some point we will be mixing in other games. If you've made it this far in the video, I just want to say a quick thank you. Watching this deep into the video really does help. It is great for the engagement on the channel, so I do appreciate it. If you guys could do me one tiny little favor more, and maybe consider liking the video, subscribing. After all, you want to be reminded when more of these videos come out. We also do hobby discussions on Mondays, so I would like to see you guys over there. But with all that being said, leave your comments down below. I would love to know what you guys thought of this mission, what you guys are thinking of the campaign overall. Have you been enjoying Rangers of Shadowdeep? Have any of you picked it up? I have not really met that many people in real life who have played this game, so I would be curious to know if any of you have played it and what your thoughts on it were. But with all that out of the way, I would love to see you guys in the comments down below. I would love to see you guys over on the next video, but in the meantime, happy wargaming.
Onward to glory!